It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Welcome to the Hockey Writers Grindline, brought to you by The Morning Skate, the Hockey Writers morning newsletter that is jam-packed with the best hockey stuff on the planet. Sign up today at morningskate.io for free delivery to your inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, drop us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay on top of all of the best Hockey Writers content. I'm your host, Kyle Knopp, and today I am joined by a panel of Red Wings writers. First off, Devin Little. Devin, how are you today?
Always good to be here with you. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great. Always glad to have you as well. Also, Logan Horn is joining us today. Logan, how is your Friday night, Saturday morning as we drop our episode going?
My Friday night's going great. Jury's out on Saturday morning. I haven't got there yet. I'll let you know.
By the time you're listening to this, you might be wondering, how's Logan doing? All right. Also joining us today is Delaney Rimer. Delaney, great to have you back on our show. How are you today?
I am peachy keen. How are you doing?
Excellent. Excellent. And then, as always, our fearless editor, Matthew Zator, has joined us. Matt, how's it going on the West Coast?
It's going good. First day in a while. It hasn't been sunny, but still we're going back to sun tomorrow. So yeah, I'm doing well.
Good. Not quite ready to welcome in the winter months yet. So, and then joining us, a good friend of our show from Access Hockey Now, Rachel Anderson. Rachel, thank you for joining our show, being on this panel, and having the good times roll here on the Grindline. How are you today?
Thanks. I'm doing great. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're always happy to have you. So I'm actually going to start with you, Rachel, as we jump right into it with our one good, one bad from this past week. So let's hear it. What are your good and bads?
All right. My good and bad, everyone can relate to. One good, we're 1 week closer to hockey season.
Absolutely.
One bad, it's 1 week less of summertime.
There you go.
It goes hand in hand. It's a little bittersweet.
I love it. Matt, we kind of heard your bad with the no sunshine today, but what do you got for us this week? What do you got for one good, one bad?
Well, my good is there's still hockey on TV. We got the Women's World Hockey Championships going on, and Canada won yesterday, and so they're off to a good start, playing today, actually this morning. So hopefully they win another game, and seems to be that it's assumed that they're going to be in the gold medal game with the U.S. So hopefully that's going to be the case. So that's my good. My bad is the fact that there's seems to be still no news with the Canucks, and there seems to be nothing happening other than the smattering of news in general in hockey. So, but it's good to have the World Hockey Championship still going on. So, other than that, again, like everyone's saying, it's good that hockey is getting closer and closer by the day.
Absolutely. We are that much closer to hockey. Devin, I'll come over to you. You have any good and or bads from this past week?
Well, my good for the week is that I got more black cherry Verners, so I'm looking forward to digging into that. And then my bad, I have no bad because I got more black cherry Verners. So
Sweet.
So Devin is just living his best life right now. What a great summer he is having. So
Dr. Pepper is going to feel jealous here. So go back to that. But,
we lost our sponsorship.
yeah.
All right. Well, my good definitely is the Women's World starting up this past Thursday and going on over the next week or so. And then my bad is, we're still a few weeks away from hockey actually being here, but we are 1 week closer to training camp, which is always good. So I had a feeling some of you might bring up this as a good or bad, but we're going to jump right into our first topic. And Delaney, I'm going to start with you. Filip Zadina just signed a 3-year deal. Is this a good? Is this a bad? What are your thoughts on Zadina coming back for the next 3 years for the Detroit Red Wings?
I'll choose to say it is a good because I'm not confident enough to say it'll be a bad. So it's a good value. I believe if he is to have more upside this season, if he's going to produce more, and if he's going to be just more confident in the player that we know he can be.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully the change of coaching will help with that. So I think it has a lot of potential to be a good, but then if he doesn't fill out his potential, then it might not be as great, but it's not a huge loss. So
Yeah, no, I mean, we were kind of all discussing this a little bit before the show, but this doesn't really hurt the Red Wings in terms of, the value or the term, and it gives Zadina a little bit of comfort to allow him to have kind of that make it or break it season, as we've talked about in the past, and we'll talk about more. But before we get into that, Logan, I want to get your thoughts on this 3-year deal. What do you think on the Filip Zadina signing by the Red Wings?
I love it. But first off, I just want to say my good really quick. And it's something that was the most electric, exciting hockey moment I've watched live in a long time. And that's Mason McTavish's save in overtime of the gold medal game with the World Juniors. Just incredible. Anyway, that was so much fun. So, but back
that was an amazing hand-eye coordination,
and
just talk about saving your team for sure.
Yeah, it changed the game completely. It was overtime, would have been over. That one's great. Anyway, I'll talk about Zadina though. This isn't like the Ducks podcast or something. This is Red Wings. So I'm a big fan of this deal for the team and the player, really. For the team, if Zadina can improve a little bit, grow into his potential a little more, this will be a steal. I think it's just over $1.8 million a year for those 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. Even if he just improves a little bit or kind of just stagnates, it's not that bad of a deal for the team. It's kind of the going rate for a 3rd-line winger, so or maybe even a 4th liner for some teams. I won't say any names. Vancouver Canucks paying too much for bottom 6 forwards. Sorry, Matt. But then for the player, I think that the term on this is the huge part for him. Mm-hmm. That will give him some freedom, give him some security in salary, but also if he signed a 1-year deal, he'd have maximum pressure on his back. He would be super nervous about every move, and he'd be like, if I don't, play well this 1 year, whole career over, or he's just an AHL tweener for the rest of his career. But he's got 3 years. He's got an all new coaching staff. Well, pretty much all new coaching staff, and he's got a real chance to get a fresh start, and he has a little bit of a runway with this new staff. So I think it's a pretty good deal for both sides, honestly.
That's a great point, though, and I alluded to it a little bit before with that term and just giving him that comfort of not feeling like he's under a microscope this year. And I think you made a great point by bringing that up there, Logan. All right, so we have talked about this. I just mentioned it. Describing this season as the make it or break it season, and Zadina being the make it or break it player on the roster heading into this season. So, Rachel, what does this deal, 3-year, about $1.8 million a year, say about Zadina's timeline to make it or break it?
I would say, after 3 years, I was kind of surprised, honestly, that they gave him 3. I was expecting 1 or 2. I do see a trend that's a little concerning, and I do want him to have the pressure of make it or break it, because if we lower that expectation and go, oh, he's got these 3 years to really become the player he should be, that shouldn't be the mentality. And I feel like, social media in general, that's just kind of what they're approaching it as. Oh, great, well, he's got some time. When really, in actuality, if you look at the prospects coming up right now, he doesn't have the time. He really should be one of the leaders on the ice at this point, or at least quickly becoming that, and he's just not. So I think the 3 years is really shocking to me, but I do think he needs to play with the pressure that he has 1 or 2 seasons at most. I don't see him as the effort I have seen from him has been not living up to expectation, and I feel like this is even lowering that expectation further, which should be the other way around. So I think he needs to feel the pressure. He should feel the pressure because all the other players do, and they're pushing from behind. He doesn't necessarily have time on his side, regardless of the length of his contract, I think.
Do you think a 3-year term like this would make it easier for Detroit to move him at the deadline if he is not living up to expectations this year?
I think so. I think it gives them time to assess really where they want him to be in the organization, if he's living up to those expectations or not. It gives him, of course, the time he needs to perform. But I do think it's more for the team's benefit. They're saving money by keeping him on. They're holding a spot with him being there while other players are developing, and frankly, better players, I think, coming through the pipeline right now. So, I mean, if I'm going to be honest with it, I think it's a win for the team more than it is for Zadina. I think he could have caught a bigger price somewhere else. It's a safety signing, I think, for him, where he's comfortable, and I think he trusts in the coaching. But I do think it gives all the advantage to Detroit to really determine what they want to do with him long term after figuring out what these next prospects have to offer.
Excellent point. I think you're absolutely right. It does favor Detroit in this type of deal. Matt, I would like to get your idea or your thoughts on this. Zadina was described as the make it or break it player on Detroit's roster. Does this deal change that? Or what does it say about his timeline to make it?
I don't think it changes it. He'll make it or break it. I mean, that's 3 years, like Rachel said, a little long for a guy that's, kind of, we've been talking about him, last couple seasons as being a guy that could be traded. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, 3 seasons, I think I agree with Rachel where it's going to be 1 or 2. I mean, he's got to start going in the right direction this season, especially because like he said, there's a lot of good prospects coming up. I mean, Jonathan Berggren may have a full-time roster spot potentially coming in. Where is he going to play? I mean, he has to play in like at least the top 9. I mean, you can't be putting him on the 4th line. So where is Zadina playing? I mean, that's where he is too. So if you're having prospects come in and pushing, he's got to start showing something in the organization to kind of think that he can play a top 6 role consistently. Because we saw flashes of it last year towards the end of the season where he started looking good on the top line there, but he's got to be that way all the time. He can't go off, not scoring or producing. But I mean, I'd say two seasons at most. When you get into that 3rd season, I think the trade is going to be it's going to be more of a chance that they're going to trade him. Because he is still young. I mean, you still got to say that. He's not an older prospect. He is getting there. I think he still has time to kind of turn it around. So we'll see what happens this season. I think it is still make it or break it, but it's going to be interesting to see, especially with more talent around him too. He's going to have more skill to play with, and he may actually break out this season. Hopefully for Detroit's sake, he does.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest aspect of this deal in this season that he's going into is he's going to be surrounded by the most talent he's been surrounded by in the last couple of years. So if he can't produce this season, then it's got to look inside of himself and not at the talent that's on his line. And I think Detroit is in a very good position to be able to deal with that if they need to deal with that down the road. All right, well, we're going to head over to our AAH affiliate, the Grand Rapids Griffins, and the Griffins should be filled with young, exciting talent this season. So I'm going to talk to my 2 Grand Rapids natives first. Devin, starting with you, what do you hope to see out of the Griffins this season?
Well, first and foremost, I hope to see them make the playoffs this year because they didn't do that last year, and that was disappointing. And not just because selfishly I want to see my hometown team go to the playoffs. I also think that's what will most benefit the Red Wings. If your prospects aren't playing important games in April, then that's a missed opportunity to develop as individuals and as a team. So first and foremost, is make the playoffs, please and thank you. Second, I'm looking to see that good young talent you mentioned really push for NHL jobs. And, in order for them to do that, that means they have to have, Berggren-esque seasons in the AHL. And then also I'm kind of expecting to see kind of Kind of a rotating roster of people because, people will be going up because of call-ups. People will be moving in and out because there's just a lot of bodies that are expected to be in Grand Rapids and everybody can't play at the same time. Just looking at the defense, it's like, all right, so there's going to be two good guys who have to sit out on any given night. It's a good problem to have, but it's definitely a thing. I think overall, what am I looking for? I just want to see the Griffins have a really good season and be a Calder Cup, contender. You look back to the 2013 and 2017 runs, those teams were filled with guys that have gone on to have successful NHL careers, at different levels, of course. But, talking about Thomas Tatar, Gustav Nyquist, Tyler Bertuzzi, those guys all are Calder Cup champions. And it all starts in the AHL. So I think for, your guys like Albert Johansson and Jonathan Berggren and Elmer Soderblom and so on and so forth, to go on a big run and to be a part of a contending AHL team, that's invaluable experience. And that's development that you hope to have when you have your guys stashed in the AHL. So development. That's what I'm hoping to see out of the Griffins and a few more wins.
Excellent. Rachel, you cover the Grand Rapids Griffins out of your backyard. This is, besides you being one of our favorite non-hockey writers contributors, this is, writers. This is why we brought you onto the show. With that and their young, exciting talent this season, what do you hope to see out of the Griffins?
I will piggyback off of what Devin said. I want to see some tenacity. I want to see speed. I want to see skill. The team this year is going to be so much younger as an average age than what we've had in a long time that I'm really excited to see how all of that plays into the roster. Of course, we've got our veterans and everything, but I think the youth that's coming in and the type of skill, we haven't had this deep of a prospect pool in a very long time in Grand Rapids at the same time. It's been a decent amount of time. So to see them all together and competing against each other with that same ferocity and tenacity, that's going to be really exciting. And I think that's actually going to push us to the playoffs. I mean, Devin, I'm going to bet money on it this year, but we are going to the playoffs. We're not going to cry. I'm not saying I didn't cry, but I'm saying you may have. But this team too, there's primarily European prospects coming in. So it's going to change the entire vibe of the team, the entire play style. They're going to have, I want to say collectively, they're going to be a much more creative bunch than they have been in the past too. So I'm really pumped up to see how that all plays out. You've got so many Swedes coming. I want to say Emil Viro is coming as well. He's Finnish, if I'm not mistaken. So, you're going to have a lot of it's the culture of the team is just going to be vastly different. And I'm really excited to see how that all translates literally and figuratively.
Excellent. Talking more about prospects, which Griffins player are you most excited to keep your eye on this season? And Matt, I'm going to come to you as one of our top prospects contributors here at the Hockey Writers. Who are you looking forward the most to keeping an eye on this season in Grand Rapids?
Well, Rachel just mentioned him, Emil Viro. I talked about him last episode, and Nate did too. He was really impressive at the World Juniors. I mean, he's, like I say, he's not a flashy defenseman. He doesn't do spectacular things on the ice, but very solid, very well-rounded defenseman. I think he's going to be, like I say, he's not going to be a guy that you're going to jump out of your seat to watch, but you need those defensemen that can just go out there, do their job, not be noticeable. For a defenseman, not being noticeable is a good thing. So a good two-way defenseman that's going to be, he may potentially get some call-ups, hopefully not a lot of them. That means there's injury. But, but I'm excited to see him in Grand Rapids because he's one guy I've had an eye on just during the World Juniors. I kind of forgot about him. I know during the draft when he was drafted, I did have an eye on him, but I kind of forgot where he went. And then seeing him in the World Juniors, I'm like, oh yeah, he's a Detroit Red Wings prospect. But I'm excited to see him, and then go off that to cross Hannes if he makes the team. He's going to be pushing to make it. But he may still go back to Portland and play his final year in the WHL. But if he does make it, I want to see him because he was really exciting throughout last season. Did that, what did they call it? The reverse Michigan? They can do. But I'm excited to see both those guys, more Viro because of what I saw in the World Juniors.
Yeah, no, I like that Cross Hannes shout out. I thought he looked
Yeah.
really good in the prospect tournament this summer. And so, yeah, I'd be excited to watch him this season. Logan, I'm going to come over to you to wrap up this first half of our segment here. Who are you most excited about watching in the Grand Rapids Griffins this season?
Well, I'm going to go with Elmer Soderblom, just because it's just not a profile of a player that you see a lot in North America. What is he, 6'8", 6'9"?
Yeah, 6'8".
Yeah.
He's a
So how
mountain.
tall are his skates? How big is he on skates? With his pads on, that's a big boy. I'm honestly, though, I'm really excited to see how his game translates. A lot of European players have trouble coming to narrower ice. Just the timing's different, angles are different. But for someone his size, he's really good with the puck, especially in close, compared to what you'd expect of someone even remotely his height. So I feel like his stick handling could translate decently well. It'll be fun. I'm excited for that. He'll be a fan favorite just because he's tall, and I'm okay with that. He's
It's
gonna be a lot of
West
fun.
Michigan thing.
Yeah. My honorable mention though, would go to Jonathan Bergeron, because I think he's going to spend a little time there. He might start in the AHL next year. Don't expect him to finish the season there. Or well, maybe expect him to play the middle chunk in Detroit and then go back for the playoffs or something. Because if the Red Wings aren't in the playoffs, the Griffins should be, and they'll want him there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my pick.
No, excellent call outs. And yeah, Soderblom's going to be a fun watch this season, just to watch him patrol smaller ice and see what he can do in those situations. But I mean, the Griffins are absolutely stacked this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see them play, and then to watch those kids come up when they do get their shots at the NHL level. All right. Well, now, just like that, we are off on the rush, which is our segment where we are answering quick fire questions in a max of 2 sentences. So I'm going to go around the horn, starting with Delaney. How many goals / points will Zadina produce this season?
I'll be semi-neutral and go 25 total
25 total points or goals?
points.
25 total points. All right. 25 points. Rachel, how many goals points will Zadina produce?
I'm gonna hope for 35 or 36 points.
Okay. Devin.
Give me 15 goals and 40 points.
Okay. Logan.
I'm going with 16 goals, 38 points.
Ooh. All right. And Matthew.
I'm gonna go and say he's gonna have a 20-goal season. I think he's
Spicy.
going to break out this. You can come back to this episode and grill me if I don't. I'm not right. Or if I'm right, then I'm going to look really good. So
They better throw 2 on the
goals.
Barbie then, because I was feeling generous and I was going to go 20 goals and 45 to 49 points. I think he's just under the 50-point mark.
Oh.
All right.
That'd be great.
All right. Going the other way. Which defenseman will lead the Griffins in blue line points this season? Matthew?
I want to say Donovan Sabranga. I think
All right.
he's going to be really just coming off the World Juniors. I think he's going to be really good. So I'm going to say Sabranga.
Excellent. Logan?
Jared McIsaac. That's my
Good
pick.
call. Good call. Devin?
Albert Johansson.
Ooh. Rachel?
I'm gonna say Sabrango.
Sabrango. And Delaney?
Make that 2 for Johansson, and a sincere apology to Filip Zadina, because I was remembering incorrectly, and he had 24 points last season. So I gave him nothing.
You made him worse. Oh, that's excellent. I was going to break the tie for Sabrango, but I want to go out on a limb, and I'm saying Wyatt Newpower.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
I think he's going to have a big season this year. All right. Well, with that, we're going to take a breath and reset the show. This is The Grind Line. I am Kyle Knopp, here with Devin Little, Logan Horn, Delaney Rimer, Matthew Zator, and Rachel Anderson, and we are talking Red Wings hockey. Before we get back into it, we wanted to remind you to sign up for the morning skate. a morning newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, jam-packed with the best stuff on the planet. It's a daily dose of the latest NHL news, rumors, histories, funnies, quizzes, and more. Just a little hockey fun and information delivered to you for free from the Hockey Riders. Make sure to sign up today at morningskate.io. All right, now that the bills are paid, let's do a couple player previews. The first one we're going to start with is Michael Rasmussen. Ras finished strong last season. So what does he have to do to keep the momentum going? Logan, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. I think something he can do to keep momentum going is work on his utility, because you can see with the team that the absolute highest he could slot in is as the third line center. There's no way he's going anywhere else. That's the highest with how the team's constructed for the next, well, I guess 1 year, but then once Larkin's extended, the next 5 years. So what that includes for me is continuing to improve his face-off percentage. It was abysmal to start his career, but he was young, so everyone's just kind of okay with it. And it's been steadily increasing. He just hit 50% last year. I saw it was actually 50.04% of his face-offs he won last year. I wonder if that's like 1 or 2 over, or maybe less. Yeah. Anyway, but that's still solid. That's, that's literally average, I guess. So if you can improve that, even a little bit, you get trusted with a lot more defensive zone starts, maybe more penalty killing time. Who knows? That's a big thing for centermen, especially in the bottom 6. And then another utility thing that he can continue working on. He fits the profile perfectly. Just a big dude for being a net front presence, especially on the power play. Didn't get a lot of time on the power play last year, under a minute per game average. Only, I think, 2 goals on the power play, or maybe it was 2 points, can't remember. If he can figure that out, I don't know. The second power play should be a lot better. First power play should also be a lot better this year. So I'm hoping he can get some time there, work on the net front. He's a big body. He's going to be just naturally kind of good at screening a goalie. So if he can work out that positioning maybe a little bit, practice, I don't know, jamming rebounds back in, or just knocking defensemen over, anything like that sounds great. That would do a lot to keep the momentum going and make him a permanent fixture on this team for the foreseeable future.
Excellent. Yeah, that big body. I mean, you have flashes of a Holmstrom or a Franzen, being in front, and he just never really seemed to live up to that, stature there. So good call out there, Logan. Matt, coming over to you. Michael Rasmussen finished strong last season. What does he have to do to keep that momentum going?
Logan took a lot of what I was going to say, but the biggest thing was the face-offs. What I saw. I mean, 50% is okay. I mean, it's not phenomenal. But having said that, it's improving. So keep working on that. Being a big guy, just using his strength alone can win a lot of face-offs, and you add technique to it, he's going to win quite a few. And if that happens, he'll be entrusted with more responsibilities. So power play, penalty kill, to be a third line center, that's what you need. And I mean, not all teams use the third line as a checking line, matchup line, but if he can become that type of guy, that a new coach is very, very familiar with a guy like that, Anthony Cirelli. So if he can become a guy like that, and anchor a line that can be a great matchup line, that's just going to help the Red Wings in the long run. So, just being 6'6", he can be pretty good at shutting other players, especially if you have the puck. So if he can just become a more well-rounded player, that he can be, given responsibility to do a lot more. I know he played on the wing. I think he played on the wing quite a bit last year too. So if he can play both, and again, this is where utility comes in too, is you can be versatile and play both positions. That makes you more valuable as a player too. So
absolutely.
He had 15 goals last season. That's again improving on scoring, and he didn't have any power play goals. You were right, Logan. He only had 2 points, 2 power play assists. So if he can get some more power play goals, the last time he scored a power play goal was back in his rookie season. So
holy cow.
Yeah. but he can hit. He had 142 hits last season. So if he can continue that, that's another big thing to add to the team. So I'm excited to see what he can do this season.
Matt, Moose is a good moose.
Yeah, loose moose is a good moose. Matt, I got to call you out because if Michael Rasmussen were to turn into the next Anthony Cirelli, I think the Red Wings would be absolutely fine with that. I just don't see that happening. I'd love to see him, kind of be, maybe even more of a Zach Cassian type player, a big body up front or something. But if he could be a Cirelli, holy cow, that would be amazing.
I have higher hopes for him. He's still only 23.
I love it.
And he's from Surrey. He's from here. He's from my backyard.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. Like he should be better, right? I'm just kidding, Matt. All right, Rachel, over to you. What are your expectations for Michael Rasmussen, or better known as the Moose, for this upcoming season?
In short, I expect him to be better. That's kind of what I expect out of all these players, really. But like Logan and Matt have been saying, like he's improved. He's steadily improved. But I think given more responsibility, he will produce more. The hits is definitely an added bonus, but I think he'll do better this season, and he's going to have a lot more on his shoulders.
Yes.
As far as responsibility goes, he's becoming one of the veterans now, being as young as he is, but he does bear a lot of responsibility in that front. He's one of the only guys that really has the physical ability to do that right now. But I think with his mindset, and his mental capacity, it's something I've always admired in him. I think he'll do just fine this year. And I do think that he will, as far as production goes, face-offs, points, whatever it is, I do think we'll see an upward trajectory from him.
Excellent. I mean, take note, Red Wings and Griffins players, you're not getting any sympathy from Rachel. Oh my gosh.
None. I'm not get a symphony either.
She is not taking it easy on any of you this season, nor should she, but she wants to see you all improve. But no, good calls there, Rachel. I love it.
If things go south in Grand Rapids, we got to have Rachel step in as coach. That's my take.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
I will do it. I will do it.
I am signing that petition right now. Delaney, over to you. What are your expectations for Moose this season?
Do better.
Assistant coach. There we go.
Poke it with a stick. Do better. That meme.
Okay, but in reality, he has been one of the most improved players over the last 2 seasons. Now Blash has said it, Larkin said it, he's said it.
I believe he won a grindy for most improved last season.
Yes, he did.
That's your ultimate benchmark right there.
Yeah, coach saying it, grindy, yes. But he's towards the end of last season, you could tell that he got more confident, and confidence is a big thing, especially when you're a mammoth on the ice. So when you're confident and that big, you can really put some gusto into those hits, as well as being in front of the net and having more energy while doing all of that. And he's been working hard. He's been steadily improving since forever at this point, because he has had a long way to get here. It wasn't like a straight shot, clear cut path for him. And he's done a good job fighting his way up. And then I was reading a article from the Detroit News earlier, and I think this sums it up perfectly. Rasmussen said, good players can bring it every night, whether on the score sheet or just other ways. The biggest thing is consistency and not getting too high or too low on yourself. And that sums it up perfectly. He said it himself. He knows what he needs to work on. He knows he can't get too confident, not too cocky / confident, but like keep working, keep improving. And it shows. He keeps steadily improving. And as long as he doesn't go backwards, it's promising. So.
Absolutely. And I think your 2 points right there, the consistency and the confidence are the two biggest things, and my two biggest expectations for Rasmussen this season. It was something we never really saw with Anthony Mantha. He never played with that consistency or that continuous confidence. And if Rasmussen can do that, I think you're going to see him really carve out a niche on this team a lot more than Mantha did or anyone else right now has solidified. So we've talked about it. We've said it. You mentioned it, Delaney. He's improved so much over the last couple seasons, and especially last season. He won a grindy for most improved. So if he can continue building off of that, I think we can expect a pretty solid season from Rasmussen this year. All right, moving on to our second player preview today. We're going to talk about Joe Veleno. And most people project Veleno to be on the team's fourth line. Delaney, I'm going to come right back to you to start. What does Joe Veleno, I almost called him Jeleno. Oh, what does Joe Veleno have to do to climb the depth chart? No, it's like a really tasty gelato. I like it. Maybe we just gave him a new nickname and he didn't even know it.
Oh boy. So bare minimum, he needs to make a consistent difference and not just a pop in, pop out kind of difference, because even the differences that he was making, they weren't insanely noticeable. Like a goal here, a goal there, cool, nice. But other than that, it was pretty silent on if he was even on the Red Wings roster, or if he was in Grand Rapids at points. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, where'd he go? Is he here? Is he there? No one knows, because he is not making a huge difference on the ice.
No one knows.
But he was given a lot of decent opportunities here and there throughout last season. And he had the chances to stand out, but didn't. So something to climb up the depth chart when he's given those opportunities, just take advantage of them, realize the opportunity that is in front of him and capitalize on it as best as he can, and just be that strong player that can help them win games. And he doesn't really have a super strong defensive end of his game. So if he can develop more of a two-way style instead of just a meh presence in both ends, but slightly better on the offensive end. Like if he just focuses on that and not just focusing on putting up points or attempting to put up points, I think would be a better way of saying that. Just develop some consistency and strength in the back end of his game. And even that would potentially make him move up in the depth charts, maybe make him a third line at best. He's not going above that third line though.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it right now, right? Especially with Rasmussen. He's not climbing up past third line because there's no room for these players to climb up third line. So, Devin, I want to get your thoughts. What does Joe Veleno, a.k.a. Gelato, have to do to climb that depth chart?
He's got to match Moritz Seider's energy on the Mojo show. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, you're not kidding. Because
I mean, that won't hurt his chances, right? But no, I do. You just said it. It goes back to what Logan said about Rasmussen. He is kind of stuck, for lack of better words, kind of in that bottom six. Now, I don't think that he's as stuck as Ras is. I think that there's maybe some untapped potential there. Maybe he has a breakout season. I could see him playing in the second line. It just depends on how things work. I don't think he's getting higher. I wouldn't bet on it, but I think that I wouldn't write off the possibility quite yet. We're talking, he's the exact same age as Zadina. We're talking about Zadina maybe having more to show. So I think Veleno still has maybe more to show, but he's got to show it, right? And I think that's kind of the crux of this whole thing, is that he's got to show it. He's going to be kind of fighting an uphill battle, because if he is on the fourth line, he's going to be with likely Rasmussen and Sundqvist. And as much as I like Rasmussen and Sundqvist, those are not guys I'm putting on the ice if I'm trying to score a goal. And if Veleno's playing with them, he's playing defense, right? That's basically what that line is going to be out there to do, assuming that's what the line is. So if Veleno finds himself in offensive situations, whether it's on the power play or he happens to be playing up the lineup with maybe, Zadina, Kubalik, whoever, he's got to capitalize, and he's got to show that he can produce. He's kind of right now in a role where he's basically, to Delaney's point, he's almost like in a defenseman role where he's just out there to not hurt the team. Just be invisible. Don't hurt the team. You're solid. He needs to benefit the team. And that's where the next step is for him. Does that mean he becomes a shutdown centerman? That'll help the team. He's just got to take those steps. Does that mean he becomes a depth producer in a third line role? That works too. He's just got to take those steps. He's just got to kind of carve out his role because, like I said, his role right now is don't hurt the team. And there's a lot of other players in the system right now that can do more than just not hurt the team.
Yeah, no, that's a great call out, Devin. He has to really produce, and Delaney, like you said, he has to be consistent this year. And kind of going back to what Matt said with Rasmussen looking like potential Anthony Cirelli, I always kind of saw Joe Veleno 2 years ago kind of filling that Anthony Cirelli role. And then last season, it did not really come to fruition. So I think he's got to, like you both said, especially you, Delaney, really work on that 200-foot game and causing chaos in his own zone to get the puck out of there and then drive the play going forward. And if he can do that, that's going to be the easiest way for him to climb up that depth chart. But Delaney, like you said, you have to know where he is. If you don't know if he's in Detroit or Grand Rapids, you can't give him more playing time. So you're absolutely right there.
When he was drafted, just real quickly, when he was drafted, I personally thought he could become a diet Dylan Larkin, basically. And he hasn't become that yet. And obviously he hasn't necessarily been in the situation to do that. But for him to, stand out and be a Cirelli type player, he's got to become a diet Dylan Larkin. But
you want him to become that black cherry Dylan Larkin, huh?
Yeah, I'd
say he's more of a zero sugar Dylan Larkin, like zero sugar. Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Zero
tastes closer to the real thing. I'm down with that.
Tastes closer, but it's so far off.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Logan, I want to get your thoughts. What are your expectations for Joe Veleno in the 2022-23 season?
Sure. I expect him to prove that he deserves to be on the NHL roster because that wasn't the hardest thing to prove last year. But there's a lot of players that are easily slotted above him in the depth chart. So honestly, like just staying on the roster is like a positive to me. Some people are already penciling in Berggren above him, which I understand, but they're the same age and in a much smaller sample size for Veleno, but they do have very similar scoring results last year in the AHL. So maybe the NHL is just a lot harder than the AHL. Maybe that's why Berggren looks so much better than Veleno when maybe they're a little closer than you think. Anyway,
that's a hot take.
We're on fire today.
I just want him to improve, as everyone's been saying, like his two-way game. I think if he's not going to be a center long-term, if they don't want him there, I think they have the perfect prototype for him on the roster in David Perron as a two-way guy, solid on defense, only really can play offense on the perimeter. Like Veleno doesn't have the electric skill or speed to really attack the middle a lot in the NHL, at least. And Perron doesn't have that either. He's just figured out a way to play really effective offense, especially on the power play, from the perimeter, because it does work for some people. And if Veleno can figure that out, that would be excellent. Doesn't hurt that they're both from Quebec, so maybe they've got a little camaraderie there. But yeah, I just want him to stick on the roster. That's, I think, the most important thing. If he wants to keep moving up, it's like the fourth line last year is basically like below the NHL line now. So for him to go up enough to still be on the fourth line is a positive in my mind.
I like that. I mean, the Red Wings have gotten a ton better this offseason, so that's going to have that trickle down effect. So you're absolutely right. If he can stay there, that's a good sign, but he does need to continuously improve. Rachel, I'm going to give you the last word on this, our last topic before we finish up today. What are your expectations for Joe Veleno?
I'm going to be redundant, but I'm going to say get better. But I mean this in the best sense. So I personally have always actually liked Veleno over Zadina. When they were drafted, his development, his play style, his physical essence, I guess he was like Marcus Kinney, the strength and conditioning coordinator in Grand Rapids, actually said he was born a man. Like he's got the body for the NHL. I want to see him, yes, consistently stay on the roster, but I do think the team did a disservice by passing him over too soon and taking Zadina first. So chain me to the wall if you want to on that one. But I do think that he does have the potential to reach at least that third line. The consistency is a big deal. Making his physical presence known is a big deal. And I think that comes with actually having consistent time and responsibility as well. One thing with this team that has been changing is how they're treating developing prospects, the amount of responsibility they're placing on them. And I would like to see the same amount put on Veleno as there has been on Zadina or any of the other guys that we really have high expectations for. Because I think if given that kind of pressure, additional pressure, I think he really could step it up. He has the potential to do that. So I honestly think this season is going to be a really, really big season for him. I think he's got a lot to prove. In his mind and conversations with him, to him, it's a great gift. So he's going to treat it like that and play like that. So I think we could expect to see him make a really tremendous push. He's not going to be the kind of player that just blows the points every season. That's not his style. But I do think we'll start to see some really, really obvious changes this season in his game and his confidence. So, I mean, I expect a lot from him, more so than I ever expected out of Zadina, which, I mean, they're both equal playing field to me as far as that goes as expectations. But I want to see Zadina, I want to see Veleno push it harder to make all the other ones look like, I guess, regret that they passed over him.
That's fantastic points there, Rachel. And you know what? That pressure you talked about, that just caused a turnover, and we are off on the rush. So I want to get your thoughts here. Will Michael Rasmussen spend the majority of the season on the wing or down the middle? And Matt, we're coming to you first.
That was very clever.
That was really good. That was really good. I'm going to say he's going to be center. I think he's going to center the third line most of the season.
All right. Logan, Rasmussen, center or wing majority of the season?
I think center as well.
Devin?
Kyle, you're getting really comfortable in that hostess chair, aren't you? I think he has the most value as a center, so I think he's gonna play down the middle the most.
All right, Rachel.
It's a unanimous vote. I think center is where he's going to be.
Delaney?
I could mess this up and say something different, but I'm not going to. And he's going to be a center.
Well, I don't think I should now. So I could see him being effective on the wing, especially with that big body, but I think we will see him mostly at center. All right. Second question off the rush. How many points will Joe Veleno have this season? Delaney.
Oh, dear God. I'm going to mess this up again. I got to look at what he had last year. I'm going to insult somebody.
All right, Rachel, we'll come back to you, Delaney.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I think last season he had last season. Now I'm having to think about it. I think he had 15. Yes, thank you. In 66 games. I think I'm going to go with points total. I'm going to say 27.
27. All right, Delaney, you want to come back to you now?
I was right, 25. I got all confused after the Zadina one, and I needed to make sure.
Well, as Rachel said, they're basically the same player, right? So,
drafted the same year, same expectations. It's different.
Devin, how many points will Joe Veleno have this season?
How many points did you say Zadina was going to have, Delaney?
I said 25 when he had 24 last year.
Okay.
So that's about a 25 for
So like saying 16 for Joe Veleno, essentially.
I'll give him a little bit more credit and say 20.
See, that's nice.
Very
Logan.
generous.
I'll go with 24.
Okay. Matt?
I'm gonna go higher. I'll go 30.
50.
And he's gonna hit double. He didn't hit double digits in goals, right? Last year.
No, we had
8. So he's gonna hit double digits. He'll hit 10. So I'll say he'll have 10 goals. 20.
Matt, the Vancouver Canucks guy among us, is the biggest believer in breakout campaigns this year. So
I'm hoping the Canucks have a few of those too.
He wants us all to come on the Canucks podcast and just be like, oh yeah, they're all getting 100 points this year.
Luke Schen's going to score 30 goals.
Since I have to put it on record, I would love to see him get that 25 to 30 range, but I'm going to put him in the 20 to 25 range. All right. Well, in case we haven't convinced you enough with our first two plugs, please sign up for the Morning Skate, the morning hockey newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you want updates on the offseason goalie carousel, background on the new NHL 23 cover athletes, or enjoy random hockey trivia, then the Morning Skate is the perfect way to start your day. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Grind Line. From all of us here at the Hockey Writers and our team and panel on this week's grind, we will see you next week.